What's going on? Spoons here with a quick look at some of the symbolic elements set up in the first episode of Wonder Egg Priority, as well as some of the minor details that you may have overlooked. As always, if you end up liking the video, consider subscribing for some more fun anime content. Let's start out with some of the more overt elements of the first episode before we go into the more theory-based stuff. First off, this episode deals heavily with themes of bullying. One of the first images after Ohto appears in the dream world is that of two faceless girls scrawling what is presumably something awful on someone's locker. But let's go beyond presumption, let's just translate it. What they're writing here translates to die. Yeah, that's much heavier than some basic insult, and it also ties into what we learn about Kurumi later in the episode. Another bit of foreshadowing comes in the form of this flower seen in a classroom. Flowers are pretty, right? Pretty is good. Unless it's this one. See, this is a white lily, commonly used as a funeral flower in Japan. Definitely something more morose than would be commonly expected in a happy classroom. Okay, so death symbolism, got it. But why the flower? This isn't the only place that we see a flower prominently displayed in this episode. In fact, we first see one on our protagonist's hoodie. This flower, however, is a sunflower. It's radiant, it's happy, it is the opposite of the meaning of the white lily. Ohto coming into this world is shaking things up. She's the opposite of everything this dream world stands for, and she's bound to make some ripples. Now, let's go a little more complex. Remember these guys, the ones with the funny names? This is Akka and this is Uraka. That isn't just gibberish, there's meaning there. See, Akka is used in Japanese to mean an account. More specifically, it oftenly refers to a social media account. And Ura means something like reverse side or parallel. Uraka is a term for an account that is less professional and more open to the parts of oneself that they may hide. So the Akka is the public-facing account, and the Uraka is the private-facing account. You can see this in the way they dress and speak. Akka is more formal, and Uraka is more informal. This sets up that there's going to be some interplay in the series between characters' outward projections and their inner selves. Okay, we've got that down. Ready to make some leaps? Cool, so yellow and blue. We see those colors everywhere in this episode. Even randomly interspersed in the background, like the signs in this scene, but always intentional. Where are the colors most prominent? Right here, in Ohto's eyes. One yellow eye, one blue eye. Neat, right? So yellow and blue represent Ohto, right? Kinda sure, but let's look at them separately rather than collectively. Ohto hides her left eye, the blue one, behind her hair. She gets bullied for her heterochromia, and she tries to hide the part of herself that makes her different. That is to say, her yellow eye is expressed, and her blue eye is repressed. Look at her hoodie. This is an integral part of her character design. The hoodie and the sunflower on it are both bright yellow, and this is the first thing that you notice about her character. This is the self that Ohto projects outwardly, the Ohto we see when she leaves her house. But let's check inside her house, or more specifically, in her room. We know that this is where she spends most of her time, seeing as she is a hikikomori, or a shut-in. What do we notice? Curtains on the window, curtains over her stuff, and a big cover over her bed where she likes to hide. Layers and layers of defense from the outside. And what color is that final layer over her bed? Yep, it's blue. This is where she can be her inner self, the self that she hides, and therefore it's expressed with blue. Another interesting use of the color is when she's sliding down the crazy dream slide thing at the end of the episode. As she enters it, it starts out blue and interspersed with stars. If this looks familiar, that's because it matches her bed cover, which is blue and dotted with white diamonds. From there, she transitions into a brilliant yellow, like her sunflower hoodie, before being deposited into the garden of Akka and Uraka. She is literally moving from her safe haven inside of her bed to the outside world, opening up from where she hid and repressed herself and forcing herself to go outside. This is almost an opposite move of what we'd expect from a show. More typical plot structures focus on bringing characters from their outer expressed self to their inner repressed feelings, as we see from some of the later characters in the show. Ohto's journey is the opposite of that. She has to get out of her head and into the world. Now there is one final thing I want to note here. Akka and Uraka sit at the same table, and Ohto's blue and yellow eyes exist on the same face. This story is not one of abandoning oneself to embrace another self, but instead one of accepting all versions of the self. The expressed self and the repressed self have to learn to coexist. And if you need any help parsing which part of Ohto you're looking at any given moment, just look to the colors. There's a lot to sift through in this show, so it's more fun to watch with friends. That's why I'd like to invite you to watch each new episode with us live every Saturday as part of our weekly seasonal anime hangout streams. To get updates on those streams and more of my content, you can subscribe to the channel or check out my Twitter through the link in the description. Until next time, I've been Spoons, and thank you for watching.